The question of whether Yoda studied the dark side has a definitive answer rooted in how fallen Jedi reinterpret their past. The evidence spans both Legends and Canon sources across 63 years, revealing how memory becomes distorted when an individual's entire worldview collapses. Count Dooku's private speculation reveals a belief based on a misunderstanding. The Legends novel Labyrinth of Evil by James Luceno documents the Sith Lord's thoughts during the Clone Wars. The passage describes his surprise at Geonosis, where Yoda's easy handling of Sith lightning caught him off guard. This surprise made Dooku wonder whether his former master had delved into the dark arts across 800 years, if only to familiarize himself with his perceived enemy. The specific phrasing matters considerably. Dooku frames this as wondering, not knowing, showing speculation rather than certainty. He imagines Yoda studying darkness to understand enemies, not embracing it for power. But something planted this dangerous idea in Dooku's mind decades earlier. A single conversation 63 years before the Clone Wars provided the foundation for this misinterpretation. The Legends novel Yoda, Dark Rendezvous by Sean Stewart reveals the crucial moment through flashback. Young Dooku sat with Yoda beside the ornamental pond in the Jedi Temple Gardens one evening, contemplating his upcoming departure for his first solo mission. He felt unusually heavy that night, as if realizing for the first time how easy it would be to sink into the Force's dark depths. Their philosophical discussion turned to the nature of the Force itself. Dooku spoke about how the Force runs through all life, high and low, great and small, light and dark. He stopped awkwardly after mentioning light, but Yoda finished the thought for him. The ancient master acknowledged that he had felt the touch of the dark across his long life, asking what mistakes a soul as great as his could make in 800 years. When the shocked apprentice could only stare, Yoda revealed his answer through laughter and a poke of his cane. Many mistakes, he explained, before growing serious with a warning that the dark side is mightiest in the mighty. This admission greatly altered everything the young Jedi understood about his master. The Grand Master of the Jedi Order had just acknowledged feeling the touch of darkness directly, not merely resisting temptation from a distance. Yoda explained that the Force includes darkness as part of existence, but added the crucial warning that his apprentice should not study it too closely, though Jedi must know it exists. That final phrase about necessary knowledge versus dangerous obsession contained the seed of everything that would follow. However, young Dooku's earlier training had already made him vulnerable to misunderstanding these words. The canon audio drama, Dooku, Jedi Lost, by Cavan Scott, reveals critical context about influences on the young initiate. During his training, Dooku encountered Jedi Master Lene Kostana, who believed the Order must actively prepare for potential Sith threats. Kostana searched for Sith relics scattered across the galaxy, and studied forbidden materials like the bestiary of Darth Kaldoth, despite the Council's disapproval. Though she would later choose Dooku's friend Sifo Dyas as her Padawan while Yoda selected Dooku, her unusual approach left a lasting impression. She argued that younglings should be trained to identify and combat dark-side artifacts, believing the Jedi were dangerously unprepared. Though the Council dismissed these concerns as unnecessary, considering her methods too close to dangerous territory, this exposure established a dangerous belief in Dooku's mind. Dedicated Jedi could apparently study darkness if it served a greater purpose. He watched Kostana break Council rules to research the enemy, learning that defeating evil sometimes required understanding it deeply. Years later, when Yoda acknowledged feeling darkness across 8 centuries and stated that Jedi must know it, the combination created a pattern. Perhaps exceptional individuals could walk closer to darkness than others without falling. Written evidence from Dooku's youth reveals this pattern developing over time. The in-universe training manual, the Jedi Path, contains handwritten annotations from both Yoda and young Dooku that document this dangerous progression. Yoda reviewed the book around 115 BBY, and Dooku received it from his master, Thame Cerulean, owning it from approximately 89 to 82 BBY. The young Padawan read Yoda's notes throughout his training, absorbing every word. On a page discussing the Sith's supposed defeat after the Battle of Ruusan, Yoda had written a marginal note acknowledging that he sometimes sensed darkness and that Jedi must remain vigilant. Directly below this, young Dooku added his own observation about idle rumors suggesting the Sith survived under the rule of two, one master and one apprentice. Another page discussed holocrons in the Jedi archives, and Dooku noted that his classmate had stolen a Sith holocron temporarily, observing that Jedi information resources were not as secure as the Council believed. He added another note questioning whether Sith holocrons revealed their secrets to just anyone, implying that certain individuals could access them. These annotations reveal a young Padawan tracking patterns of those who engaged with dark-side materials. To someone already fascinated by forbidden knowledge, these pieces suggested that exceptional Jedi could engage with darkness more directly than others. Years of growing doubt would twist these memories into permission to abandon everything the Jedi stood for. Dooku grew increasingly troubled by what he perceived as corruption throughout the Jedi Order and the Republic it served. He believed the Jedi had become tools of a broken government, enforcing laws that perpetuated injustice rather than preventing it. Eventually, he left the Order entirely, returning to his homeworld Sereno to claim his family title as Count. From there, he fell to the dark side, becoming Darth Tyrannus, apprentice to Darth Sidious. From this new position as a Sith Lord, having crossed every line Yoda warned about, the fallen Jedi reconsidered those old conversations. The memory of Yoda acknowledging darkness transformed in his mind. Perhaps Yoda had done more than simply feel the dark side across 8 centuries. Perhaps he had studied it deliberately, like Costana studied artifacts, and that hidden research explained his extraordinary wisdom. This reinterpretation shows how perspective alters memory. What Yoda actually taught was vigilance and honest self-awareness. What Dooku now remembered was permission and precedent. The speculation crystallized during the Clone Wars after a specific encounter triggered the memory. Labyrinth of Evil documents Dooku's thoughts, forming years after his fall. During the battle on Geonosis, Dooku fought his former master directly, hurling Sith lightning at the ancient Jedi. Yoda deflected the attack with surprising ease, parrying the dark side technique as if he had trained specifically to counter it. This unexpected skill planted a question in Dooku's mind. The text states that Yoda's easy handling of Sith lightning made Dooku wonder whether the Jedi Master had delved into the dark arts across his 800 years, if only as a means of familiarizing himself with his perceived enemy. The passage then connects this speculation to a more recent memory. Dooku recalled that on Vjun only months earlier, Yoda had admitted carrying a darkness within himself. This statement became the confirmation Dooku needed. In his mind, carrying darkness within meant studying dark techniques, not simply experiencing the internal struggle every Force user faces. The fallen apprentice mistook feeling darkness for studying it, turning self-awareness into proof of training. Yet, when master and former student finally confronted each other face to face, Dooku never spoke this accusation aloud. If Dooku truly believed Yoda had intentionally studied the dark side like Costana researched Sith artifacts, this moment offered the perfect opportunity to expose that hypocrisy. He could have accused his master of following the same path he now condemned. He could have pointed out that Yoda's wisdom came from the same forbidden study Dooku now practiced openly. However, he said nothing of the sort. Their conversation remained focused on philosophy and competing views of the Force. Dooku argued that embracing both light and dark represented true balance. On the other hand, Yoda rejected this interpretation completely. Neither spoke of Yoda personally engaging with darkness beyond acknowledging its existence. The speculation remained locked entirely in Dooku's private thoughts, never voiced to anyone. This silence reveals something crucial about the belief itself. The wondering appears only in his mind in Labyrinth of Evil, framed with uncertainty, used to justify his choices when no one else could hear. Even Dooku himself remained unsure. He wondered whether it might be true. He believed it could explain Yoda's extraordinary abilities. He never claimed it as definite knowledge because he possessed no actual evidence. The word perhaps that prefaced his speculation betrayed the absence of proof. Canon sources prove Dooku's interpretation wrong from an entirely different angle. The Canon Clone Wars animated series episode Sacrifice documents Yoda's spiritual journey to learn the secret of maintaining consciousness after death. During this quest, the dark side itself actively attempted to corrupt him through visions. Darth Sidious and Dooku used ancient Sith techniques to project their power across the galaxy, targeting Yoda specifically. They offered him forbidden knowledge directly, promising to reveal the identity of the Sith Lord in exchange for giving in to darkness. They tempted him with power, suggesting he could gain strength beyond imagination by accepting their teachings. Without hesitation, Yoda rejected every offer. He stated plainly that the Sith had nothing to show him, refusing to engage with their promises. In the final test, they presented him with a terrible choice through Vjun, offering him the chance to learn who the Sith Lord was in exchange for allowing Anakin Skywalker to perish. Regardless, Yoda responded that he would not be tempted, and that he was ready to sacrifice everything rather than accept knowledge purchased through darkness. Sidious concluded that they had failed to break Yoda's will, acknowledging that his strength proved too great for corruption. This episode demonstrates Yoda facing explicit offers of dark-side knowledge and consistently refusing them. This was not a philosophical discussion about whether darkness exists. It was a direct temptation with specific techniques and information, which Yoda rejected. The contrast with Dooku's speculation could not be clearer. The fallen Jedi imagined Yoda studying darkness in secret. Instead, his former master refused it even when offered directly. The distinction between what Yoda taught and what Dooku heard reveals where the misunderstanding occurred. Yoda acknowledged that darkness exists as part of reality. He admitted feeling its pull across 8 centuries. He explained making mistakes during that time, showing honest self-awareness rather than claiming perfection. He warned that Force users must know that darkness exists, meaning they should understand its presence and nature, not that they should train in dark techniques. He specifically cautioned against studying it too closely, establishing a clear boundary between necessary awareness and dangerous obsession. This teaching described the internal struggle every Force-sensitive individual faces throughout life. Darkness pulls constantly at those connected to the Force. The challenge lies not in avoiding knowledge that darkness exists, but in consistently choosing light despite feeling that pull. Yoda's wisdom came from 8 centuries of making that choice repeatedly, from experiencing darkness and refusing to embrace it day after day, decade after decade, century after century. Dooku interpreted this entirely differently because he approached the question from a Sith perspective. The Sith pursue power through intentional study of darkness. They learn techniques that channel negative emotions. They research methods to dominate others through Force abilities. They seek knowledge that increases personal strength regardless of moral cost. Dooku assumed his master must have followed a similar path to achieve such wisdom, because that framework was the only one he understood after his fall. This assumption reflects Sith thinking, where power comes from accumulating forbidden knowledge and mastering dangerous techniques. Jedi wisdom operates on different principles. It comes from experience rather than study, from mistakes rather than research, from choosing correctly rather than knowing more. Yoda's understanding of darkness came from feeling it constantly and rejecting it consistently, not from practicing dark abilities or researching Sith methods. The fallen apprentice could not grasp this distinction because his own pursuit of power depended on studying what the Jedi refused to practice. The truth about what Yoda actually did stands in complete opposition to Dooku's speculation. Yoda felt the touch of darkness across 800 years of life. He chose the light every single time that choice presented itself. He made mistakes, as all living beings do, but learned from them and continued choosing correctly. He acknowledged that darkness exists within everyone because honesty about internal struggles proves crucial for avoiding corruption. He warned his apprentice against studying darkness too closely because he understood the danger inherent in fascination with forbidden knowledge. None of this describes studying dark side techniques. It describes self-awareness, vigilance, and constant choice. The fallen apprentice, viewing these teachings through the lens of his own corruption, reinterpreted honest acknowledgement as evidence of secret training. Yet every source demonstrates this reinterpretation was false. Dooku's fall came from believing exceptional individuals could study darkness without succumbing to it. The difference between master and fallen apprentice was not that one studied darkness while the other abstained. The difference was that one chose light consistently across 9 centuries, while the other chose power. Then, constructed a narrative suggesting his master had walked a similar path to justify that choice. Dooku's speculation reveals more about his own need for validation than about Yoda's actual practices. It demonstrates how fallen Jedi reinterpret their past to make their betrayal seem less catastrophic, transforming their master's honest teachings about struggle into permission for forbidden study. But the Count's misunderstanding was not the only consequence of that garden conversation. The fallen apprentice's entire descent from promising Jedi to Sith Lord was shaped by how he twisted his master's teachings. To understand the complete story of Count Dooku's fall and the choices that led him to betray everything he once believed, watch his full biography next.